The signal. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the readout on her monitor, running the analysis for the third time. The signal was unlike anything she'd encountered in her 15 years at Deep Space Research Station Omega. It wasn't the usual background radiation or random stellar noise. This was structured, purposeful, and desperate. "James, come look at this," she called to her colleague, Dr. James Rodriguez, who was calibrating equipment across the lab. "I'm picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." The research station, a joint project between Earth's major space agencies, orbited a gas giant in the Proxima Centauri system. Its primary mission was to study extrasolar phenomena and search for signs of intelligent life. After years of scanning the cosmos, they'd found plenty of interesting astronomical data, but never anything that suggested artificial origin. Until now. James leaned over her shoulder, his eyes widening as he processed the data streaming across the screen. "These patterns, they're too ordered to be natural. Where's it coming from?" Sarah pulled up a star chart, pointing to a cluster of stars nearly 50 light-years from Earth. The signal originated here, in the Lyra constellation. But that's not the strangest part. She highlighted a section of the decoded data. "Look at the energy signature. Whatever sent this is using technology far beyond anything we've developed." "Have you notified command yet?" James asked, already knowing the answer. Protocol dictated immediate reporting of any potential alien signals. Sarah shook her head. "Not yet. I wanted to be absolutely certain before starting an interstellar incident." She pulled up another screen of analysis. "The signal appears to be some kind of distress call. The patterns suggest urgency, repetition consistent with emergency broadcasts. But there's something else." She adjusted some parameters, and a new data stream appeared. "Look at these embedded quantum signatures. They're degrading at an impossible rate, like they're being actively destroyed. Whatever sent this message, they're fighting to keep it intact against something trying to silence it." James straightened up, running a hand through his gray-streaked hair. "So we're not just picking up a message. We're witnessing a battle being fought through quantum communications." "Exactly. And whoever sent this is losing." Sarah's fingers flew across the haptic interface, making rapid calculations. "Based on the degradation rate, we have maybe 48 hours before the signal is completely destroyed. If we're going to respond, it has to be now." "Sarah," James's voice carried a note of warning. "You know the protocols. We're observers, not interventionists. We're supposed to report this up the chain and wait for instructions." She spun in her chair to face him, her expression fierce. "By the time we get approval, the signal will be gone. Somewhere out there, an advanced civilization is crying out for help. They're fighting something powerful enough to wage war through quantum space itself, and they chose to reach out to us. But why us? We're barely an interstellar species. Our most advanced ships are still using primitive fusion drives. What could we possibly do to help?" Sarah smiled, a glint of determination in her eyes. "Maybe that's exactly why they contacted us. Whatever they're fighting, it probably isn't expecting help to come from a primitive species like us. Sometimes the best solutions come from unexpected places." She turned back to her console, fingers poised over the controls. "I'm going to send a response. Something simple, just to let them know we received their message. Are you with me?" James was quiet for a long moment, weighing decades of scientific protocol against the opportunity of a lifetime. Finally, he nodded. "Do it. But let's be smart about this. We need to prepare for whatever comes next." Sarah began composing humanity's first response to an alien distress call. As she worked, the quantum battle continued to rage through subspace, invisible to all but the most sensitive instruments. Somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, an advanced civilization was fighting for survival, and humanity had just decided to answer their call. Little did they know, their response would set in motion events that would reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. The signal wasn't just a cry for help. It was an invitation to prove that Earth's classification as a death world wasn't just about physical strength, but about the indomitable spirit of its inhabitants. As Sarah sent humanity's response streaking across the light years, she couldn't help but wonder, what would the rest of the galaxy make of these Deathworlders who dared to answer? First contact. Captain Maya Patel stood on the bridge of the EF's Horizon, Earth's most advanced warship, watching as her small fleet dropped out of FTL on the edges of the Lyra system. 3 months had passed since Dr. Chen's fateful decision to respond to the alien distress signal. The bureaucratic wheels had turned surprisingly quickly once the significance of the signal was understood, perhaps too quickly. Status report. Maya commanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. 5 ships accounted for. Captain. Lieutenant Walsh reported from his station. All systems nominal after the jump. But, he paused, adjusting his sensors. We're picking up massive energy signatures throughout the system. The scale it's unlike anything in our database. Maya nodded grimly. They'd known they were heading into something big, but seeing it firsthand was different. The Horizon and her sister ships represented the best of human military technology. Fusion drives, magnetic shield arrays, and rail guns that could accelerate projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed. But compared to what they were detecting, Earth's finest might as well have been sailing ships made of wood. Multiple contacts detected. Walsh's voice rose with urgency. 2 distinct energy signatures. The larger group matches the quantum interference pattern we observed in the distress signal. The others, he shook his head in disbelief. They're literally bending space around themselves. The tactical display lit up with dozens of contacts. The larger group, presumably the luminary who had sent the distress signal, were gathered around a massive structure in orbit of the system's 3rd planet. Their ships glowed with crystalline energy, beautiful but clearly damaged. The attacking force, the Void Dominion, lived up to their name. Their vessels seemed to absorb light itself, creating patches of artificial darkness against the starfield. Incoming transmission, Communications Officer Garcia announced. It's from both sides. Maya straightened her uniform. This was the moment humanity had prepared for, but nothing could truly ready them for first contact in the middle of an alien war. Put them through, split screen. The view screen flickered to life, revealing 2 very different beings. On the left, a luminary. Their form seemed to shift between solid and energy, with patterns of light flowing through what might have been their equivalent of skin. On the right, a Void Dominion commander, their form dark and angular, seeming to draw in the light around them. The luminary spoke first, their words translated by the quantum algorithms Dr. Chen had developed. Humans of Earth, you answered our call when no others would. The Void Dominion seeks to harvest our sun's energy, uncaring that it would end our civilization. We asked for your help because you understand something they cannot. The value of life itself. The Void Commander's laugh was like static across the comm. You brought primitives to aid you. Their ships are powered by crude fusion reactions. They have no quantum weaponry, no dark energy manipulators. They are nothing. Maya felt the eyes of her crew upon her. The Void Commander wasn't wrong. By any conventional measure, human ships were hopelessly outmatched. But conventional thinking wasn't why Earth had been classified as a death world. You're right, Maya said, addressing the Void Commander. We don't have your advanced technology. We can't bend space or manipulate quantum fields, but you've made 2 serious mistakes. She allowed herself a small smile as she continued. First, you assumed that because we're less advanced, we're less dangerous. Earth is called a death world, not because we're the strongest or most advanced, but because we survive, we adapt, we overcome. The tactical display updated, showing the Void forces pressing closer to the luminary defensive line. Maya's smile grew sharper. And second, you assumed we came here to fight a conventional battle. She nodded to her tactical officer. Across all 5 human ships, weapon ports opened, but instead of the expected rail guns, something else emerged. Something the Void Dominion sensors couldn't quite understand. All ships, Execute Operation Murphy's Law, Maya commanded. As the human fleet moved into position, Maya reflected that sometimes the most powerful weapon wasn't technology at all. It was the ability to think in ways your enemy couldn't predict. The Void Dominion was about to learn why picking a fight with Deathworlders was a very, very bad idea. The human factor. Operation Murphy's Law was the culmination of 3 months of intense preparation, born from humanity's greatest strength, the ability to turn their own limitations into advantages. As the human fleet moved into position, their seemingly primitive ships began deploying clouds of what appeared to be simple metallic dust. Quantum field fluctuations detected in the Void Fleet, Lieutenant Walsh reported, monitoring the swarm of microscopic particles now spreading through space. They're trying to bend space-time around our deployment zone. Perfect, Maya responded, her eyes locked on the tactical display. They're doing exactly what Dr. Chen predicted. Execute Phase 2. The metallic dust wasn't just debris. It was billions of tiny quantum field sensors, each one programmed with a simple but crucial task. As the Void Dominion ships manipulated spacetime, the sensors began mapping their techniques, feeding data back to the human fleet's computers. The Void ships are moving to intercept, Garcia announced. They're charging their main weapons. The dark ships of the Void Dominion advanced confidently, their weapons powering up with energy that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. But as they entered the cloud of sensors, something unexpected happened. Their quantum fields began to fluctuate erratically. Dr. Chen's voice came over the comm from her station in the science lab. The sensor swarm is working. Their quantum manipulations are creating feedback loops in our detection grid. Each sensor is acting as a tiny mirror, reflecting their own spacetime distortions back at them. Maya allowed herself a grim smile. The Void Dominion had mastered the manipulation of spacetime, but they'd never encountered an enemy who would use their own power against them in such a fundamental way. The human fleet hadn't brought advanced weapons. They'd brought billions of tiny mirrors to show the Void their own reflection. Multiple Void ships reporting drive failures, Walsh announced, excitement creeping into his voice. Their spacetime distortion fields are collapsing. The tactical display told the story. The Void ships, unable to maintain their quantum fields in the chaos of their own reflected manipulations, were reverting to normal space. Their greatest strength had become their greatest vulnerability. Now comes the hard part, Maya said, turning to address her crew directly. We've given them a bloody nose, but they're far from beaten. All ships, prepare for Phase 3. The human fleet began moving in a complex pattern that Dr. Chen had calculated. A dance that took advantage of the quantum chaos they'd created. Their ship's primitive fusion drives, unaffected by the quantum disruption, gave them an advantage in maneuverability that the Void forces hadn't expected. Luminary fleet is responding, Garcia reported. They're following our lead. On the tactical display, the crystalline ships of the Luminary began moving in concert with the human fleet. Their advanced technology, combined with human strategic innovation, created a devastating synergy. Where the Void ships tried to bend space, they found their efforts reflected and amplified. Where they tried to retreat, they found themselves herded by the combined human luminary formation. Multiple Void ships powering down, Walsh reported. They're surrendering. The Void commander's image appeared on the view screen again, their darkness seeming somehow diminished. How? You're primitives. Your technology is centuries behind ours. That's exactly why we won, Maya replied. You expected us to try to match your technological advancement. Instead, we found a way to use it against you. On Earth, we learned long ago that the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with the biggest weapons. It's the one who can turn your own strength into a weakness. The luminary representative's voice carried a note of awe. This is why we call to you, humans of Earth. Not because of your technology, but because of your ability to find solutions where others see only impossibility. Maya nodded, but her attention was already turning to the challenges ahead. The battle was won, but she knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had just announced its presence on a galactic stage in a way that no one could ignore. As the Void Fleet surrendered and the Luminary began coordinating cleanup efforts, Maya couldn't help but wonder what other impossibilities humanity would be asked to solve. They'd proven that being from a death world meant more than just surviving harsh conditions. It meant finding ways to thrive no matter the circumstances. The human fleet had arrived as unknowns, dismissed as primitives. They would depart as legends, having demonstrated why Earth's reputation as a death world was about more than just physical strength. It was about the relentless ingenuity that turned limitations into advantages and impossibilities into opportunities. Unexpected allies. In the days following the battle, the EFS's horizon became a hub of unprecedented collaboration. The ship's main laboratory, normally spacious, was crowded with an unusual mix of human scientists and luminary researchers. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the center of it all, watching in amazement as holographic displays, mixed with crystalline thought matrices, in a stunning display of technological integration. "Your quantum sensor design is brilliantly simple," said ethereal voice of wisdom, a luminary scientist whose light patterns shifted in rhythm with their speech. "We had grown so focused on advancing our technology that we forgot the power of elegant solutions." Sarah smiled, manipulating a 3D display of the sensor swarm's data. "And we never imagined our basic quantum field theories could be applied so effectively. Your understanding of space-time mechanics is centuries ahead of ours." Captain Maya Patil entered the lab, accompanied by the luminary fleet commander, Resonance of Stars. The victory had transformed their initial alliance of necessity into something far more interesting. "The last Void ships have withdrawn from the system," Maya announced. "But our long-range sensors suggest they're regrouping. This isn't over." Resonance of Stars' light patterns pulsed in agreement. "The Void Dominion does not accept defeat easily. They will return, with countermeasures for your sensor swarm tactics." "Good thing that's not our only trick," Sarah said, pulling up a new display. "Look at this. We've been analyzing the battle data, combining our understanding of quantum mechanics with luminary crystal technology. What we've discovered is, well, it's revolutionary." The display showed a hybrid design, a fusion of human pragmatism and luminary advancement. Where human sensors had simply reflected quantum manipulations, this new system could actively redirect and reshape them. "We're calling it the Murphy Matrix," Sarah explained. "It doesn't just turn their strength against them, it lets us rewrite the rules of engagement entirely." Maya studied the design with intense interest. "How soon can we implement this?" "That's the beautiful part," ethereal voice of wisdom chimed in, their patterns brightening with excitement. "Your ship's primitive construction actually makes them perfect platforms for the technology. The lack of quantum field interference from your systems means we can install these matrices without the complicated shielding our ships would require." The implications were staggering. Human ships, once dismissed as hopelessly outmatched, would become the perfect vessels for a whole new kind of warfare. But the possibilities went far beyond military applications. "It's not just about defense," Sarah continued. "This combination of technologies could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production. We're not just sharing knowledge, we're creating something entirely new." Resonance of Stars moved closer to the display, their light patterns forming complex geometric shapes that humans were learning to recognize as expressions of deep thought. "When we sent our distress signal to Earth, we hoped for allies. Instead, we found something far more valuable: catalysts for change." Maya nodded, understanding the deeper significance. The luminary had been trapped by their own advancement, seeing every problem through the lens of their sophisticated technology. Humans, with their primitive but innovative approaches, had shown them an entirely new way of thinking. "We've already begun retrofitting the fleet with the first generation of Murphy matrices," Sarah reported. "But more importantly, we're establishing joint research teams. Human intuition combined with luminary knowledge. There's no telling what we might achieve." The laboratory buzzed with activity as human and luminary scientists worked side by side, each learning from the other's perspective. Where humans provided unexpected insights and creative solutions, the luminary offered deep understanding and advanced theoretical frameworks. The Void Dominion thinks they'll return stronger, Maya said, watching the collaboration unfold. They don't understand that we're no longer just humans with primitive technology, or luminary with advanced systems. We're becoming something else entirely. Yes, Resonance of Stars agreed, their patterns forming what the humans now recognized as an expression of amusement. They expect to face the same opponents they fought before. Instead, they will encounter something unprecedented. A civilization that combines human adaptability with luminary advancement. As the day continued, more breakthroughs were made. Each discovery seemed to lead to 3 new possibilities. Each innovation spawned countless opportunities. The humans' victory had done more than save the luminary. It had catalyzed an evolutionary leap in both civilizations. Maya couldn't help but smile as she watched her crew working seamlessly with their new allies. Earth's classification as a death world had always been about more than survival. It was about the ability to grow, adapt, and transform. Now that transformative power was reshaping not just humanity's future, but the future of galactic civilization itself. Legacy of the Deathworlders. 6 months after the Battle of Lyra, the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 100 spacefaring civilizations had gathered to witness something unprecedented: the formal introduction of humanity to the galactic community. Captain Maya Patel stood beside Dr. Sarah Chen at the Chamber Center, surrounded by a delegation of both humans and luminary. The crystalline architecture of the council chamber reflected and refracted the light patterns of the gathered species, creating an aurora of diplomatic tension. The humans did more than save our civilization. Resonance of Stars addressed the assembly, their light patterns commanding attention. They showed us that true advancement comes not from technology alone, but from the willingness to see beyond established paradigms. A representative from the Algorithmic Collective, a civilization of artificial intelligences, spoke next. But they are classified as Deathworlders. Their technology is primitive by our standards. How can they possibly contribute to galactic society? Sarah stepped forward, activating a holographic display. Above the chamber, a demonstration of the Murphy matrix sparked to life, showing how human innovation and luminary technology had merged to create something entirely new. "We don't claim to match your technological advancement," Sarah explained, her voice clear and confident. "But perhaps that's exactly what the galaxy needs right now. Sometimes, the most powerful solutions come from asking different questions entirely." The display shifted, showing the rapid developments of the past 6 months. Human ships retrofitted with luminary crystals, now capable of feats that neither civilization could have achieved alone. New forms of quantum communication that combined human redundancy with luminary elegance. Medical breakthroughs that merge Earth's biological diversity with crystalline healing techniques. "The Void Dominion taught us all a valuable lesson," Maya added. "Advanced technology without adaptability becomes a weakness." They assumed their quantum superiority made them invincible. Instead, it made them vulnerable to solutions they couldn't imagine. The chamber erupted in discussion, light patterns and energy signatures flaring as representatives debated. The Void Dominion's defeat had shaken assumptions about technological supremacy, but the implications of human innovation were even more disturbing to some. A representative of the Silicon consciousness, their form shifting between digital states, raised an objection. "You propose to alter the very foundation of galactic development. Our civilizations have followed a clear technological progression for millennia. What you suggest is chaos." "Exactly," Sarah responded with a smile. "Evolution requires chaos. Adaptation demands challenge. Earth is called a death world not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we never stop finding new ways to overcome our limitations." Resonance of Stars moved to stand beside the humans, their light patterns synchronizing in a display of unity. The luminary were stagnating, trapped by our own advancement. Humanity reminded us that true progress often comes from embracing uncertainty and finding unexpected paths forward. The evidence was undeniable. In just 6 months, the Human Luminary Alliance had produced innovations that neither civilization could have conceived alone. The Murphy Matrix was just the beginning. Their collaborative approach was revolutionizing everything from space travel to environmental restoration. "We're not here to replace your technology or impose our methods," Maya addressed the Council. "We're here to offer a different perspective. Earth's classification as a death world isn't a warning label. It's a testament to the power of adaptability." As the Council debated, news arrived that drove the point home. The Void Dominion had sued for peace. Their defeat at Lyra, followed by the rapid evolution of human luminary technology, had convinced them that their old approach to galactic dominance was no longer viable. "The galaxy is changing," Sarah concluded. "The old hierarchies of technological advancement are giving way to something more dynamic. Humanity doesn't ask to be acknowledged as the strongest or most advanced. We ask only for the opportunity to contribute our unique perspective." The council chamber fell silent as the Concordet's prime speaker rose to deliver their verdict. Their energy form shimmed with the weight of history as they spoke. "For too long, we have equated advancement with progress. The humans have shown us that true progress often comes from unexpected directions. We accept Earth and its people not despite their death world origin, but because of it. The age of rigid technological hierarchy is ending. The age of adaptation and innovation has begun." As the chamber erupted in a cascade of light and energy signatures, some celebrating, others still processing the implications, Maya and Sarah shared a knowing look. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not as conquerors or supplicants, but as catalysts for change. The legacy of the Deathworlders would not be one of mere survival or technological advancement. Instead, it would be the story of how a supposedly primitive species taught the galaxy that true strength lies not in power or technology, but in the ability to adapt, innovate, and imagine new possibilities. The signal that had started it all, a desperate cry for help across the stars, had done more than save a civilization. It had initiated a transformation that would reshape the galaxy for generations to come. And this was only the beginning.